and welcome to Creatrix season. It is the Loom portal as of today, 3/3, and this portal is open for the next 12 days. So, what is a Creatrix? In my definition, what does this mean? What do we need to be aware of? So, a Creatrix is a person who is here to create, to lead the collective to a higher timeline for all. And that is the key that I want to say here. We Creatrixes are here to heal the rifts in our current human collective timeline so that all beings can thrive, so the planet can be a healthy place, so that each and every person can live a life of dignity and of their design. So, Creatrix is one of 12 Startype imprints. This is something that I have been a certified practitioner of since last year. I've been studying since 2021 now. Oh my gosh, time flies. Uh, there are 12 star seed imprints that are also available to Earth souls. So, whether you follow along with that sort of language, these are energetic packages that sort of determine how you anchor into the 3D, how you live your 3D life, your preferences, as well as what you are doing on the unseen multidimensional levels. And each of the 12 months happens to have, right, a repeating number 112233. And each of those repeating numbers has to do with a portal, a timeline portal that opens up here in the 3D where we are more easily able to access these cosmic blueprints. So everyone right now has a little bit more access to the Creatrix imprint, even if you yourself are not a Creatrix. So the Creatrix imprint itself, like I said, is here to help heal collective timeline rifts and to help us have an overall understanding of time. So in some of my advanced work, I teach about past, present, future, and the intersection with now. And I'm not going to get into that today. I just want to kind of share a little bit of that multidimensional complexity of the kinds of things that Creatrixes think about and look at. So how do we shift timelines? How do we step onto new ones? What does a timeline even mean? And this was something that took me multiple years to figure out or master. So no worries if you do not have any clue what I'm talking about. But what you do have a clue of what I'm talking about is the fact that the world is currently on fire and so many people are literally, their lives are in danger, lives are being lost, homes are being lost, right? People are literally in fear that they are not going to be able to continue to live their life. And this is happening globally. And we need better. We can do better, right? When most of the power structure is held by a small group of people, it's not a timeline where everyone can thrive. It's a timeline where only a few can thrive. And so, our job as a collective is to begin to make shifts towards a higher timeline where everyone can be benefited. Everyone can live a life of their own design. Everyone can find inner peace and harmony, love, ease, relaxation, right? That is not something that should be barred to us as a species. We can work interconnectedly and we can do this together, but not when we are constantly divided, not when we're constantly fighting, not when it's us versus them or right versus wrong, right? And that is something that is so difficult for us to hold when the planet is literally suffering to the mass levels that it is right now. So I'm not here to downplay the suffering or how challenging it is right now. What I am here to do is to encourage you as an individual to step into a higher timeline for yourself where you are creating more peace and harmony within yourself, where you are anchoring into your well-being, into your boundaries, into what is right for you. That is where we start to see the collective change taking place, right? When you begin to align with your own highest energy, you begin to align with a higher possibility for other people too. Because when you see it as possible for you, you see it as possible for others. When you see it as possible for others, you see it as possible for you, right? We are interconnected with our communities and with the globe. So everything impacts us, whether we realize it or not. So, how can you really have a more positive impact on yourself That is what we're being called into right now. And I'm seeing collectively this huge shift in how we're looking at healing, how we're looking at wealth and money, how we're looking at resources. And that's something that's really, really big is I think that we all need to shift our awareness from money to resources. How are we resourced with people that are aligned with us? How are we resourced with the ability to trade or barter? How are we resourced with our land, our home, our assets? How are we resourced within ourselves, right? Our ability to anchor into peace. These are all things that we can directly look at and begin to work with. When we zoom out and we see the mass levels of suffering in the world, which we should continue to work to stop, right? We don't want this trauma loop to just continue to play out the way that it has been, but we start by shutting the trauma loop down within ourselves and getting really anchored into who we are and what our dreams are and what we can do and where we can have an impact. So that is my invitation, is where can you anchor into your own ability to have an impact within yourself? And then how do you begin to ripple that out into the world? Right? You are not solely responsible for fixing the world's problems. None of us are. So, what can you work on holding more space for within yourself? What can you do to create more compassion, joy, curiosity, peace, love, harmony within yourself? And then how does this begin to impact the people around you? How does this begin to impact your partner or your sister or your kid or even your pets, right? How does your being in peace and ease within yourself more and more with each breath begin to have an impact? And then how does that impact on others around you start to spread to your community, to your neighbors, to your county, to your state, to your country, to the world? It starts within the micro, right? We can see all the macro problems right now. They're huge, they're glaring, and they are jarring. So how can we come within and really do some deep some deep expansive healing work to liberate ourselves from these constant cycles of being caught up in fear and shame and blame and division and hatred and trauma looping? Everything ultimately, when I look at the problems in the collective right now, it is just trauma looping. It is generations and generations and generations of race, religion, uh, land, right? Colonialism, all of this dispute energy over the one right way to be and who has the right to be that way. So, how about we agree that we all have the right to love? We all have the right to having our basic survival needs met, to have shelter and food and safety available to us. There is no person on the planet that is unworthy of safety and love, even if they try to take that away from others, right? It's their trauma that is playing out. And the more that we see it that way, the more that we can begin to liberate the entire collective and say, no more, no more trauma, no more pain in this, us doing it to one another, right? Something that I really have continued to anchor into. I would say this kind of came through me maybe 6 months ago, is there's already enough pain and suffering in the world from natural disaster, from sickness, from the things that are just completely out of our control, that we don't need any extra drama and suffering from doing harm to one another. There's already enough juicy content of pain and feeling our feelings that exists simply from natural disasters and disease and things like that, that we don't need to co-create more hatred and pain and trauma. We just don't. So, how do we begin to liberate ourselves from this? How do we bring in more love? It starts in here, right? The moment you bring yourself outside of yourself and you begin to say, well, that person, they make me feel this and they're to blame and I need to destroy them or take them down or trash talk them, whether this is a neighbor, an ex, a politician, right? How do you get resourced in yourself? Come back to you, come back to your own self love, and really hold that right now, because that is where the collective can begin to shift. So, welcome to Creatrix season. May it be an uplifting time. for those of us who have been downtrodden. And may it be a time of renegotiation for those currently in power to realize, maybe we need to make some changes, right? And we get to do this through our votes, through how we spend our money, through what we talk about, through what we support, through who we spend our time with. All of that is stuff that we have more control over, that we actually have control over, right? Things outside of your control, let them go. That is the message here. So, again, this portal is open for the next 12 days. During this time, you may feel like you want to get your human resources organized, like you want to get your networks organized, maybe even like you want to get your home organized. It is kind of spring cleaning time. You also may notice that downloads are increased or you're getting more information coming in about future plans. Creatrix is all about those future plans and leading the way, paving the way for better. So, how can you pave the way for better? All right. Much love to you, friends. I will see you back here soon. And I hope you are doing so well in the midst, as well as you can be in the midst of all of the stuff that is happening around you on a global level, in your communities, in your families. Anchor into that energy of love. I see you. I hear you. I believe in you. And I'm sending you so much love, peace, and ease.